A legacy that began in the halls of a grand English estate is now reaching its final curtain call. For more than a decade, Downton Abbey has captured hearts with its stories of love, loss, tradition, and change. And now, in 2025, the journey comes to a close in a film that promises both celebration and farewell. This is not just another period drama, it is the end of an era, a goodbye to a family, a household, in a world that has defined television and cinema history. Downton Abbey began as a television series in 2010, yet its impact stretched far beyond the small screen. From the very first moment, viewers were introduced to the Crawley family and the servants who ran their household. The show struck a chord. It was not simply about aristocrats and their staff. It was about the changing tides of history, about individuals facing wars, revolutions, economic shifts, and social reforms, all from the walls of a single grand estate. That story of upstairs and downstairs became a universal reflection of loyalty, duty, ambition, and love. Over 6 seasons, audiences followed this world as it transformed through the early 20th century. We witnessed the Titanic disaster affect the family's future. We felt the weight of the First World War reshape lives. We saw the rise of women's independence, the struggle for workers' rights, and the inevitable fading of an old social order. Every twist in history was mirrored through Downton, and every triumph and heartbreak kept viewers invested in the lives of its characters. What made the series remarkable is its ability to blend grandeur with intimacy. The beauty of the sets, the costumes, and the sweeping countryside was undeniable. But it was the human stories that stayed with people. Characters like Lord Grantham, Lady Mary, Carson, Mrs. Hughes, and so many others became household names, not because they were flawless, but because they felt real. Each one carried their own hopes and burdens. Each one made us care about their journey. When the series concluded in 2015, many felt it was a perfect ending, yet the appetite for more remained. Fans around the world wanted to revisit that world, to see where the Crawleys and their staff had gone, how their lives had changed, and what new challenges awaited them. This hunger led to the first Downton Abbey film in 2019, which was a global success. The movie not only reignited the love for the story, but also introduced it to a whole new generation of viewers who had never watched the series. The success of that film paved the way for another in 2022, titled Downton Abbey: A New Era. This second cinematic outing expanded the horizons of the story, moving the Crawleys to the south of France, while also opening the doors of Downton to the film industry of the 1920s. It showed us once again how this estate, though rooted in tradition, could not escape the forward march of time. Both films kept the spirit of the original series alive, while giving audiences something fresh. And now, after years of storytelling, we arrive at the final chapter in 2025. The title itself signals closure, grand finale. It is a moment that feels bittersweet. Fans are excited to witness the last story unfold, yet there is a deep sadness in knowing this will be the final goodbye. For many, Downton Abbey is not just a drama. It is a part of their lives, a show that brought comfort, nostalgia, and joy. The finale promises to honor that connection, delivering a conclusion worthy of such a beloved legacy. This build-up is not simply about a movie release. It is about a cultural moment, a farewell that acknowledges the past 15 years of storytelling. The Crawleys and their world have carried us through history, and as we prepare for the curtain to fall, we are reminded of how rare it is for a story to sustain such passion and devotion across decades. Downton Abbey is more than fiction, it is a legacy. And the final film is its last bow. The grand finale of Downton Abbey does not open with noise or spectacle, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. The estate itself seems to breathe differently, as though it knows its story is coming to a close. The great halls, the winding staircases, the candlelit dining room saw, familiar, yet charged with a sense of an ending. From the very first frames, the film signals that we are not just watching another chapter, but the final piece of a story that has spanned decades. The plot centers around both change. On one side, tradition still lives inside the walls of Downton. Meals are served with ceremony. Family discussions are carried with elegance, and loyalty still binds the household together. Yet beyond those stone walls, the world is shifting faster than ever. New technologies are knocking at the door. Social expectations are evolving. And the Crawleys, as always, must find a way to adapt. This dance between past and future, between keeping hold and letting go, is the heart of the story. Without giving away secrets, it is safe to say that the film weaves together multiple arcs. Members of the Crawley family face choices that will define their legacies, while the staff below stairs confront personal challenges and questions of belonging in a world that may no longer need them. Some seek love, some seek closure, and some are simply trying to preserve a way of life that feels fragile. Every thread is carefully interwoven, ensuring that no character is left without purpose. What makes the story powerful is not just the events themselves, but the way they echo the themes that have always defined Downton Abbey. Questions of loyalty, duty, and change remain central. Yet this time, every decision feels sharper because it carries the weight of finality. There is no more next season to set things right. Every triumph, every heartbreak, and every goodbye matters. The audience feels it in every scene. That makes even the smallest moment feel monumental. The backdrop of the film is both familiar and expansive. The estate continues to anchor the story, serving as the stage where lives unfold. But like the earlier films, the grand finale steps beyond those walls too. The Crawleys are drawn into settings that challenge their way of life, pulling them into new places, new ideas, and new conflicts. These external shifts mirror the inner transformations of the characters, creating a balance between the intimate and the grand. What stands out is how carefully the film avoids being predictable. While it carries the weight of closure, it never feels like a checklist of endings. Instead, it allows characters to grow naturally, with arcs that feel earned rather than forced. Some find resolution, others embrace change, and a few are left with the mystery of what comes next, a reflection of real life, where not every answer is neatly tied up. Most importantly, this finale delivers emotion. There are moments of laughter that remind us why we fell in love with these characters, moments of tension that hold us at the edge of our seats, and moments of quiet reflection that stay with us long after the credits roll. It is a film that asks us to say goodbye, but also to celebrate what has been. For fans, it is both gift and farewell, a reminder that while stories end, their impact endures. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, is not about shocking twists or grand spectacles. It is about meaning. It is about giving dignity to characters who have walked with us for years and allowing them to bow out with grace. In this way, the film becomes more than just a conclusion. It becomes a love letter to the audience who have carried Downton in their hearts for so long. At the core of Downton Abbey has always been its people. The Crawleys and the devoted staff beneath their roof are more than characters. They are living memories that audiences have carried for years. In this final film, each of them is treated not as a piece of a machine, but as a soul reaching the end of a journey. Their performances are layered, thoughtful, and often heartbreaking, reminding us why this series stood out in a world of endless drama. The Crawley family, led by Lord Grantham, represents both tradition and change. Hugh Bonneville once again captures the quiet dignity of a man torn between preserving an ancient way of life and facing a modern world he can no longer ignore. His presence is calm, but in this film, we sense the weight pressing harder on his shoulders than ever before. Lady Mary, sharp as always, brings her unwavering strength to the forefront. Michelle Dockery plays her with that balance of steel and vulnerability, proving once again that she is the true heartbeat of Downton. Lady Edith continues to embody resilience. Laura Carmichael brings depth to a character who has long been underestimated but who has grown into her own power. Her story in this finale is not about suffering as it once was. It is about embracing her worth and her future. And then, of course, there are the quieter presences who nevertheless shine. Tom Branson, with his blend of loyalty and independence, and the younger generation who represent what is yet to come. Below stairs, the performances are equally moving. Jim Carter as Carson, the butler who embodies tradition itself, commands every scene with the gravity of a man who knows his world is vanishing. Phyllis Logan, as Mrs. Hughes, continues to ground the staff with warmth and wisdom, a figure who sees change not with fear, but with grace. And then there are the lively Sparks characters like Daisy and Mr. Molesey, who add humor and heart. While reminding us of the dreams and struggles of ordinary people, what sets this film apart is how every actor seems to understand that this is goodbye. Their performances are infused with something more than technique. It is memory, gratitude, and farewell. You can feel it in the pauses, in the looks exchanged across dinner tables, the way voices break slightly when emotions run too high. These are not just scripted lines. They are echoes of 15 years of storytelling, culminating in one last bow. Even new faces are handled with care, introduced not as distractions, but as threads that enrich the tapestry. They serve as reminders that even as one generation exits the stage, another waits in the wings. These characters do not steal the spotlight. They pass the torch, reminding us that time moves forward, whether we are ready or not. The performances in the grand finale are not about creating drama for the sake of drama. They are about closure. They are about honoring the complexity of people we have grown to love. Whether it is the firm resolve of Lady Mary, the quiet humor of Mr. Bates, or the steadfast devotion of Anna, every moment feels like a farewell gift to the audience. And perhaps that is the greatest strength of this film. It knows that we, too, are saying goodbye as the credits roll. It is not just the story that lingers, but the faces of those who brought it to life. They have given us a decade of laughter, tears, and reflection. And in this final performance, they ensure that Downton Abbey remains not just a show or a film, but a legacy carried forever in the hearts of its viewers. If story and characters form the soul of Downton Abbey, then its craft is the heartbeat that keeps the legacy alive. The grand finale is not only a narrative conclusion, but also a visual and sonic experience, designed to remind us why this world has always felt larger than life. Every frame, every costume, every note of music carries the weight of farewell. The direction is deliberate, never rushing. Instead of chasing spectacle, the camera lingers on the glow of candlelight across silverware, on the weathered stone of Downton's walls, on the faces of characters we know so well. The pacing is like a heartbeat slowing, steady and intentional, inviting the audience to take in the smallest details. Each shot feels like a portrait, painted not to impress, but to preserve memory. Cinematography plays a crucial role here. The sweeping views of the English countryside remind us of the timelessness of the setting, while the intimate close-ups draw us into private worlds of joy, doubt, and grief. The contrast between grandeur and intimacy has always defined Downton, but in this final film, it is heightened. One moment you are soaring above the estate, the next you are pulled into the flicker of an expression across Lady Mary's face. The effect is both majestic and human. Costume design continues to be a triumph. The fashion of the era is not just decoration, it is storytelling. Each garment reflects not only the wealth or position of the wearer, but their emotional state. Lady Mary's elegance carries sharp edges, as though her gowns are armor against a changing world. Edith's clothing glows with confidence, a reflection of her growth. Even the uniforms of the staff are deliberate, marking the tension between tradition and the modern shifts that threaten their way of life. In every thread, the past and future wrestle for dominance. Production design is another quiet achievement. The sets are meticulous, but more than that, they feel lived in. Rooms are not just backdrops, but characters themselves, bearing the weight of years gone by. The library, the Great Hall, the servant corridors, they all hold echoes of conversations and secrets from seasons past. Watching the film feels like walking through memory itself, spaces that whisper stories even before the actors speak. Then there is the score. Music in Downton Abbey has always been more than accompaniment. It is the emotional compass of the story. In the grand finale, the familiar themes return, but with variations that make them feel both nostalgic and new. The swelling strings during moments of revelation, the quiet piano beneath intimate conversations, the subtle silences that allow emotion to breathe. Each note is crafted to remind us that this is the last time we will hear them. The score does not overwhelm. It guides us gently through the highs and lows. Like a final dance with a partner we know we must release. The editing deserves mention too. Transitions are smooth, allowing the story to unfold without abruptness. Scenes are given room to breathe, respecting the gravity of each moment. The rhythm of the film reflects the balance between history's relentless pace and the personal stillness of those living it. It feels measured, like a final letter carefully written, rather than hurriedly signed. Altogether, the craft of the grand finale is not about dazzling the eye or ear, it is about evoking memory and emotion. It respects the legacy of Downton, while reminding us of the artistry that elevated it from mere drama to cultural phenomenon. With this film, the creators do not just close a story, they frame it like a masterpiece in a gallery, ensuring that when we look back, we see not only the characters we loved, but the beauty of the world they inhabited. When a story spans over a decade, with millions of viewers across the world invested in every moment, the final chapter carries an almost impossible weight. Expectations for Downton Abbey, the grand finale, were immense. Fans wanted closure, but they also wanted surprise. They hoped for nostalgia, but also growth. And as the curtain finally falls, reception proves one thing: the film delivers a farewell worthy of the name. Critics have praised the film for its restraint and emotional maturity. Unlike many finales that collapse under the pressure to shock, this one understands that its greatest strength lies in intimacy. Reviews highlight the way it prioritizes emotion over spectacle, offering audiences quiet but powerful moments that linger long after the credits. Words like graceful, poignant, and majestic repeat across critic columns, emphasizing that the finale respects the intelligence and loyalty of its audience. What truly elevates the film, according to early reviews, is its ability to balance finality with continuity. It feels like an ending, yes, but not a forced one. Characters reach natural conclusions to their journeys, arcs that have been slowly and carefully built since the very first season. Critics have pointed out how rare it is for a long-running story to maintain its integrity until the very end. And Downton has achieved exactly that. Among audiences, the response has been deeply emotional. Social media is filled with posts from fans describing tears shed during quiet conversations, laughter at familiar banter, and the bittersweet ache of watching beloved characters take their last bow. For many, the film is more than entertainment. It is a farewell to something that has been part of their lives for years. Families who watched the series together now sit side by side in theaters, sharing in the collective grief and gratitude of goodbye. The reception also shows how universal the story has become. Viewers who had never set foot in an English country estate found themselves moved by the struggles of the Crawleys and their staff. Audiences across cultures and generations see themselves in the tension between past and future, between holding on and letting go. The final film captures that universality with a sense of closure that speaks to everyone, no matter their background. Not all responses are without critique. Some viewers wished for bolder risks, for shocking turns that would forever be remembered. A few felt that the pacing leaned too heavily into reflection, slowing down moments that could have carried more urgency. Yet even those criticisms come wrapped in affection. They are less about disappointment and more about the hunger to hold on to the world of Downton for just a little longer. What stands out most in the reception is the sense of gratitude. Critics respect the craft, audiences embrace the emotion, and both groups acknowledge the rarity of such a graceful exit. Where so many long-running stories stumble at the finish line, Downton Abbey has crossed with dignity, leaving behind not chaos, but calm. Every great story hides secrets behind the curtain, and Downton Abbey, the grand finale, is no exception. Beyond the elegant costumes and sweeping shots, there are details that reveal just how much care went into crafting this farewell. These facts and pieces of trivia are not just curiosities, they are reminders of how deeply the creators wanted this final chapter to resonate with the people who have loved the series for years. One of the most remarkable choices in the film's production is the use of real historical estates. Rather than relying solely on studio sets, Highclere Castle, the heart of Downton since the beginning, once again serves as the anchor. Yet for this finale, Previously unseen corners of the estate were open to the cameras, allowing audiences to explore new spaces within the familiar walls. The decision was intentional, to let the setting itself feel like it was revealing its last secrets, as though the house wanted to share just a little more before the curtain falls. Costume design also carries hidden messages. The designers layered subtle symbolism into the wardrobe choices. Fabrics and colors often reflect the emotional state of the character's cool tones in moments of tension. Warmer shades in times of unity. In one scene, a character's outfit mirrors clothing they wore in the very first season. A visual echo that connects beginning and end in a way only keen-eyed fans may notice. For those who look closely, these details are like whispers from the past. Honoring the journey from the start to the finish, the actors themselves added their own touches of nostalgia. Several cast members admitted to keeping small mementos from filming items like cufflinks, letters, or pieces of jewelry that had traveled with them throughout the story. In this finale, some of those items were worn or used on screen without audiences even realizing. They were tokens of memory, carried not for the plot, but for the people performing the roles. Grounding their final scenes in real emotion, the score, too, holds hidden treasures. Composer John Lunn returned once more, and he crafted variations of the iconic Downton theme that subtly weave throughout the film. In the final act, certain notes echo almost exactly as they did in the show's very first episode, a musical circle closing itself after more than a decade. Listeners may not consciously recognize the echoes, but emotionally, the connection is undeniable. It feels like returning home. There are also behind the scenes stories of how the cast approached this final shoot. Some actors describe the last day on set as overwhelming, with tears not only from performers but from the crew who had lived with this world for so long. For many of them, Downton was more than a job, it was a second family. Knowing it would be their final time walking through those halls, setting the table, or stepping into costume, gave every moment a layer of weight that audiences can feel in the film itself. Another fascinating element lies in the way history and fiction intertwine. The writers once again drew inspiration from real events of the early 20th century, threading them into the lives of the Crawleys and their staff. By grounding fictional arcs in historical detail, the film maintains that unique Downton balance, a drama that feels personal, yet forever tied to the tides of history for fans. These facts and hidden details transform the finale into more than just a viewing experience. They turn it into a treasure hunt of memory, where every scene carries layers of meaning. It is a reminder that Downton Abbey was never simply about what happened, but about how much thought and care went into every decision. This is a story built not only to entertain, but to enduring. The trivia behind its creation shows just how much love the creators poured into ensuring its final bow would be unforgettable. When the lights dim and the final scene of Downton Abbey, the grand finale fades away. What remains is not just the story of one family or one household, it is the echo of a legacy that has spanned generations of viewers. Few works of television or film manage to transcend entertainment and become a part of culture itself. Yet Downton did exactly that. It entered homes across the world and for many became a ritual, a comfort, and a shared memory. This final film does not simply close a chapter, it marks the end of a cultural era. The impact of Downton Abbey can be measured in many ways. It revived global interest in period dramas, showing that stories rooted in history could feel modern, relevant, and deeply emotional. It inspired countless productions to follow, from grand costume dramas to intimate explorations of class and family. Beyond television, it influenced fashion, tourism, and even how audiences across continents engaged with British history. Highclere Castle became more than a filming location. It became a landmark, drawing visitors who wanted to walk the same halls as the Crawleys and their staff. But perhaps the most profound impact lies in its human connection. The series and films gave viewers characters they could grow with, struggle with, and celebrate alongside. For over a decade, fans watched Lady Mary wrestle with duty, Carson embodied tradition, Edith discover her voice, and Anna and Bates fight for love. These were not distant aristocrats or nameless servants. They were reflections of ourselves, our hopes, our fears, and our search for meaning in changing times. The grand finale ensures that each of these figures departs with dignity, offering closure that feels honest rather than manufactured. The film also reinforces one of Downton's most enduring messages, that change is inevitable, but legacy endures. The world within the story moved from carriages to motor cars, from telegrams to telephones, from rigid hierarchy to whispers of equality. Through it all, the Crawleys and their staff adapted, resisted, and ultimately accepted the march of time. That mirrors our own lives, where traditions fade, new ways rise, and yet memory holds on to what matters most. Downton Abbey in all its forms has reminded us that history is not just about kings and queens. It's about ordinary people living through extraordinary times. As audiences leave the theater, the emotion is bittersweet. There is gratitude for the journey, sorrow for its ending, and joy in knowing it was given the send-off it deserved. Online, fans share tributes, artwork, and personal reflections, proving that while the story may be finished, its spirit will remain alive. Generations from now, new audiences will discover the series, and they will feel what we felt. The magic of stepping into a world that is both distant and deeply familiar. The grand finale is not just an ending, it is a reminder of the power of storytelling. It proves that when characters are written with care, when history is treated with respect, and when craft is used to elevate emotion, a simple drama about one estate can become a global phenomenon. Downton Abbey's legacy is not only in the awards it won or the headlines it made, but in the hearts it touched and the conversations it inspired. In the end, this film is a goodbye not only to Downton Abbey, but to a shared experience that connected millions. It asks us to celebrate what was given, to carry the lessons of tradition, loyalty, and change into our own lives, and to remember that even when a story ends, its echoes remain. Downton Abbey bows with grace, leaving behind not silence, but a legacy that will outlast time itself.